The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, guys, this is in fact the aftermath of Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. Still trying to process what the hell happened on Saturday night because it was a monumental moment in boxing history. Um, yeah, just really historical stuff happened this past Saturday. So we're gonna give our final thoughts on that because I feel like I've talked about it a lot, and we're gonna put the finishing touches on our Canelo Crawford coverage. We're also gonna pay our respects to Ricky Hatton here in a second, and yeah, so pretty straightforward show. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's doing great. It's been a long day. Not actually, no, it hasn't been that bad. It's been a pretty good day today. But another day at camp in the books with Yuga Osaki getting ready for this October 3rd light flyweight title eliminator. So really excited about that. But look, I'm not sure how long I'll be here, guys. It might be an hour and a half, might be 2 hours. We'll see how it goes. I'm recovering from this weekend because I really didn't have a weekend, to be honest with you. It was just kind of like one big long day. But listen, do me a favor. Smash that like button. Definitely let me know what city, what state, what continent you guys are watching from. And if you got any thoughts, if you got any insights on Crawford, Canelo, you feel free to get them down below. And we'll definitely bounce some ideas, bounce some perspectives off each other, and see what's what. But it's good to be here. Shout out to my guy. Let me see what we got. We got my main man, Coach Malachi Williams in the building. He says, salute BT. Salute. Hey, make sure you guys go subscribe to my boy. Malachi Williams doing a great job. Just super consistent every day with the lives. Probably one of the only, these days I don't have a lot of time to watch other channels, but when I do, his channel is one of the ones I check into. It's like one of the three that I consistently watch when I can. So shout out to him. He does great work. Good to see you here, champ. My man Pac-Man says, what he say? He said, hey, BT, respect and rest in peace. Ricky had a warrior through and through and deserves respect he has gotten and continues to get 1,000%. And a true superstar of the sport. No British fighter, not Fury, not Amir Khan, not Kell Brook. No British fighter ever crossed over to America like Ricky Hatton, except maybe Prince Nassim Hamed. Apart from Prince Nassim Hamed, I don't think anybody really had as much success from the UK crossing over to America in the modern era. So he was special. We'll get to him in a second. But yeah, rest in peace to him. Eddie Morales, good to see you, champ. He says R.I.P. Hitman. And he also says Canelo exposed. Again, yes. It never ends. Like, just when I think it's going to end, it keeps going. It keeps going and going and going. BT, if Canelo wasn't ever good, then why are you and everyone else rioting Crawford for beating him? Because Terence Crawford, it's pretty straightforward. Terence Crawford is not a 168-pounder. Canelo Alvarez, and I never said, don't twist the words up. I never said Canelo Alvarez wasn't ever good. I said that Canelo Alvarez was overrated and that people got carried away calling him the best Mexican fighter of all time. But I never said he wasn't good. I've always said that Canelo's an elite fighter. I've always said that Canelo's an A-level fighter. But I just always said that he's not as good as advertised. So to answer your question, the reason why people are giving him Crawford his due is because the guy has done things that have never been done in the whole entire glorious history of the sport of boxing. So that's why. It's pretty straightforward stuff. BT, I know what happened with Floyd and Terence Bud Crawford in 2017. Shakur Marriott, good to see you, Shakur. I know exactly what you're referring to. All right, couple more comments, and then we'll get to our talking points because I got 4 talking points, and I want to get through them all. Inoue needs to move up if he wants the number 1 spot. Yes, I agree. Fighting these guys like Merjan, Merjan, I was so fair to Merjan in the middle to the fight because you guys know, anybody who heard me talk about Merjan Akwadali for all these years, you guys know I always told you guys that the MJ versus Inoue fight was completely pointless. I only even gave it any credibility when Inoue decided that he wanted to stay at 122 and Merjan made the mandatory. I kept it consistent. I kept my energy consistent with Merjan because he was a mandatory, even though I didn't want to. But really, Merjan is one of the I know he went the distance, but he's one of the easiest fights Inoue's ever had in his entire career. Merge on to can. Hold up, you in camp? I'm not like sparring or nothing like that. I mean, I get my little training in, but as far as like eating the same things as Yugo Osaki and staying on the fight plan, yeah, I'm eating the same things as him. The body's getting more toned. I'm getting stronger. Skin's starting to glow. Let me get a haircut and pop outside and watch what happens to everybody's girlfriends. Yeah, but BT, even you said Crawford isn't special. You said Crawford isn't special, better than, not the best, even if he KO. So why are you changing tune? I said he wasn't special. No, I've always said Terence Crawford's a special fighter. I've always said Terence Crawford is a special fighter. I don't know where you're getting that from. I said Canelo isn't special if he KO'd Crawford because he's supposed to do that because it's his weight class. That's what I said. Is Angelo Leo fighting again before this year ends, or is he just fighting once this year? I think unfortunately it's going to be probably once this year due to things that are out of his control. But whenever he's back in the ring, it's belt to ass on any featherweight you can name. Who is Yuga training with? Yuga is training with a very good coach. Respectfully, BT, you got to let the fights play out. Don't down a fight before it happens. Canelo Crawford was great for boxing and moved the needle. Well, okay, I'm gonna get to my talking point because I want to pay my respects to Ricky Hatton here in a second. But to address this comment, Canelo versus Crawford was not a great fight. I want to make that perfectly clear. Like it was great because of what happened and the history that was made. But like in terms of the actual fight itself, it objectively was not a great fight. It was like it actually kind of I didn't get my prediction right, but I got my prediction right as far as the fight, like how it would play out. I knew it was going the distance. I knew that you'd have two counter punchers, doing a lot of not as much waiting as I thought, but enough waiting to where it went the distance. And I don't think it's a fight that you could watch 2 or 3 or 4 times and be like, wow, like it was such a great fight. Like it was great because of what Crawford did to Canelo and the history that was made. Um, so I don't think it was a great fight. Now, was it a great event? What did it move the needle in boxing? 1,000%. It was a great event. It was great for as far as the casual and crossover appeal. It was phenomenal. I saw people that I know in my own personal life that don't know shit about boxing asking me about this fight. I saw bad bitches that I know don't know about boxing posting about it on Instagram that I know. And so, in that regard, it definitely moved the needle and was relevant culturally. So to that, I say congratulations to Turkey and Dana White on a great event. I can't hate on that, but it was not a great fight. I'm sorry. Like it was a great performance, but as far as a great fight, as far as like great fight to me is like, Hagler Hearns, Corrales Castillo, Mike McCallum, James Toney. Those are great fights. This was not that. But anyway, we got our first super chat alive. Shout out to my boy Matt Borgeson. I'll highlight it in a second when streamer lets me. But he says, "Yo, it was satisfying watching Inoue whoop MJ's ass. It gave me a real perspective on the Nakatani fight. I think Inoue can win if he shows that again. Very, very special stuff. Yeah, I mean, look, we never seen Inoue deliberately try to box a disciplined 12 rounds. That's what he did at Merjan because it was out of the respect to the danger that was the punching power of Merjan Ahmadaliev. So really and truthfully, he did a great job staying patient, keeping the fight in the center of the ring. Did a lot of catching and countering. And Inoue himself, to tie it into what this live is about, Inoue himself even said that he used Terence Crawford and his fight against Canelo Alvarez as a reference point and inspiration to do what he did to MJ. So, Terence Crawford's even inspiring some of the fighters that people say should be above on pound for pound. So, there is that. But listen, guys, before I go any further, before we get into any Crawford, Canelo talk and any of that, I want to pay my respects. I want to pay my respects to a fighter that I am a big fan of, a fighter that really moved the needle, and a fighter that was like, I feel like a lot of fighters when they put on the gloves and they envision themselves as a world champion, superstar fighter, they would hope to have what Ricky Hatton had, the kind of support this man had. This guy would bring like 10,000 Brits over consistently to fights in America. And I don't think anybody really crossed over from the UK like him ever. I mean, Naseem Hamed did have some big fights here, and he was a big deal. But I don't know, man. Hatton might have had Prince Naseem beat as far as crossover appeal because he had a chance to fight Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao, these kind of guys. And before this live started, guys, I went back and I rewatched Ricky Hatton's fight against Jose Luis Castillo because I feel like that fight is one of the more understated fights in his career because a lot of people like to downplay that win and say that, Hatton only won because Jose Luis Castillo was shot to pieces, which is fair because Castillo had been through some wars with Corrales and he was going through a lot of personal problems in his life. So I get why people would say that. However, how many times have you seen a British fighter get in the pocket with a Mexican fighter and outfight the Mexican in the pocket? You ain't really seen that too many times. You saw Ricky Hatton. And, Ricky Hatton, he had the juice. He had the it factor. Great fighter at 140. Like, it's not even worth a debate. He was a great fighter at 140. Before he lost to Mayweather, I believe he was like 43 or 44-0. And when he was at 140, all the big names, all the guys that people thought would give him the toughest test at 140, like your Costa Zoos, Jose Luis Castillo's, he was one of those guys that when the occasions were the biggest at 140, he fought his best, right? 147, not so much. 147, he fought and lost, got his ass spanked by boxing royalty and Floyd and Pacquiao. But I want y'all to think about the star power and the legend that both Pacquiao and Mayweather became and why they got so big. They don't get to where they got to in boxing without having a box office attraction dance partner like this, like Ricky Hatton. Think about Terence Crawford. Think about even like a Brian Norman Jr. right now who's in a very weak welterweight division. These guys are great fighters. But the luxury that a guy like, let's say, Brian Norman Jr. does not have is that he didn't have a guy like this in his weight class. He didn't have no superstar British fighter who could bring 10,000 fans across the pond to fight him, right? So Ricky Hatton was a net positive for everyone in boxing. He was a net positive for the fans because he never cheated the fans in the ring. He always fought tooth and nail. He was a net positive to his opponents because his opponents had a willing, ready, and valuable dance partner that would give them more exposure. And just a great fighter, man. Awesome fighter. I mean, Max Kellerman in the Jose Luis Castillo fight, he downplayed it and he said, that Castillo was shot and this, that, and the third. But the objective truth is this. Jose Luis Castillo was a great fighter, right? An awesome fighter. He fought some of the best fighters of his era. He fought Mayweather in a very disputed first fight. A lot of people thought he won that fight. He was on his way to knocking out Corrales in the first fight before he got knocked out. And then he had two really close fights, nip and tuck with Stevie Johnston, who was also like a top, world championship caliber fighter, a world champion himself, in Stevie Johnston, right? Nobody had outright beat the brakes off of Jose Luis Castillo. And regardless of what people want to say about him being shot to pieces and maybe not being at his best, which there is some truth to that, the point remains. Nobody ever beat the hell out of Jose Luis Castillo the way Ricky Hatton did. And it's wins like that, along with Costa Zoo, that got him to the Hall of Fame. And I was watching that fight, and it's insane. I mean, it's insane that this guy had a cult-like following that would really come to Vegas just for him. And I remember when I was in Japan. When I was in Japan, my last trip, I remember I was laying down one night, like back in January, and I was laying down for some reason. This is how you know I love boxing. I was laying down one day, and all of a sudden, all I heard was in my head, "There's only one Ricky Hatton." That's what I heard in my head, because that's the kind of atmosphere that he brought to his fights. Atmospheres so amazing, so electric, so magnetic that even 10 years plus afterwards, you will hear the voice of his own fans cheering his name. So, I really do think nobody had the juice that Ricky had, and it's unfortunate that he passed away at 46. And it goes to show you that even with fame, even with success, even with the stature he achieved in his life, that by itself wasn't enough. He had his own personal demons. He had talked about himself with depression and mental health, and he had those struggles were well documented. And I don't know for certain how he died. There's speculation that he killed himself. But look, speaking as somebody who in the past has dealt with, a lot of depression, who has dealt with a lot of suicidal thoughts. Not anytime recent, but I'm saying like when I was really young. That's actually part of the True School Sports story. I had suicidal thoughts when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, and that led me to go into the boxing gym, right, and start training. And then you guys know the rest. And I started covering boxing, and then 10 years on, here we are, still doing our thing, alive and kicking, making boxing a better place for everybody involved, right? But it's a hard thing to overcome, and God only knows what he was going through in his head. If that is the reason why he died, if he did take his life, but so I try to be kind to everybody that I meet. I try to be as kind as possible and treat everybody with grace, class, and dignity. But yeah, man, Ricky Hatton. Some of my earliest memories of boxing involve Ricky Hatton. Ricky Hatton is one of those guys, while playing Fight Night growing up, watching 24/7, seeing the banter with Floyd. I mean, he's a foundational part. I feel like anybody who grew up in America or even the UK, anybody who grew up following boxing in the 2000s, whether you like it or not, Ricky Hatton is more than likely going to be a fundamental part of your boxing fandom because he fought the guys of that era. Your guys like Floyd, your guys like Manny, your guys like Costa Zoo, your guys like Jose Luis Castillo. He fought them, and he was just awesome, man. I love Ricky Hatton, and may God rest his soul. In the post-fight interview for the Jose Luis Castillo fight, the irony of you watching that fight is that Diego Corrales had just passed away a couple months before the Hatton fought Castillo. So after Hatton knocks out Castillo, Hatton talks and says that it's unfortunate what happened to Corrales on the motorcycle accident, and then he winds up getting a hug from Diego's wife Michelle, right? And it was a great moment in time. And Diego Corrales outside the ring, he was known for being a guy that lived a very hard life and just he was very reckless. He was just very free spirited. He just did whatever he wanted, and that's what led to his death. He lived how he fought, which was hard. And Ricky Hatton is no different. He was known for ballooning up in weight many times. He was known for extreme weight cuts because he'd fight, he'd go win or lose or whatever, and then he would just go right, he would balloon up in weight. So he was doing 30, 40-pound weight cuts. And he used to have, people used to call him, and he used to call himself, because Ricky has that classic, self-deprecating British humor. Ricky himself used to say that he's Ricky Fat, and he came out with the fat suit. So he just, one of a kind, man, one of a kind, a true British boxing icon. One of boxing's real true superstars of the last 25 to 30 years, and definitely someone that I have a lot of respect for and loved watching fight growing up. So rest in peace to the one and the only, the iconic one, Ricky the Hitman Hatton. Anyway, shout out to my guy Jeffrey the Pig. He says Hatton looked fantastic against Paulie, which is hard to do against a prime Magic Man. Very true. Paulie, boxer, mover, great stamina, really good jab. It wasn't easy to do. He did it. So yeah, he had a lot of good wins. Everybody likes to focus on him getting his ass whipped by Floyd and Manny, but that's Floyd and Manny. Like, them guys is boxing royalty. Like, those are two of the only 7 5-division world champions in boxing history, and he lost to them. So there's no shame in that. But he still beat some really good fighters. Like, even some of these guys, like, he beat a young Luis Collazo. He beat what's his name? Juan Urango was another solid win. So he had his fair share of wins. He didn't get the Hall of Fame in an accident. So yeah. Anyway, all I wanted to say was rest in peace. God bless him and his family. And yeah, Hatton was a legend when he had so much British fans that it drowned out the Floyd supporters. I mean, they basically fought in the UK. Like, I read an article years ago, and I said this in my YouTube show earlier today. I read an article that said that Ricky Hatton used to bring so many fans to the MGM Grand and all the Vegas arenas that he fought in, that the arenas had to up the supply of alcohol by like 10 times the amount just to accommodate his like ridiculous fan base. So he's superstar, like just absolute superstar. Why did he pass away? The reports are saying that he passed away because he killed himself, but I don't know. I don't know if I believe that, because even though he did have mental health struggles, Ricky was in the gym. He lost some weight. He had an exhibition coming up, if I'm not mistaken. So I feel like his life had enough purpose to where, he didn't have to do all that. But I don't know. I don't know for sure. I can't really say. Shout out to Matt Borgeson. He says, I hope Keyshawn gets his act together. He could be Bud 2.0. He's very good. I like Keyshawn. I don't know if I want to call him Bud 2.0, but nobody's threading that needle and punching in between tight spaces like Terence Crawford. But Keyshawn Davis, I'm very high on him. Not so long ago, I was just saying that for me, one of the fights I wanted to see in boxing was Keyshawn versus Tank. So that's possible. But yeah, shout out to you, Matt. BT, would you consider Oscar Collazo top 10 across all weight classes below 130? Yes, he's definitely a top 10 below 130. So featherweight on down, hell yeah, he's one of the little giants of the sport right now for sure. But anyway, yeah, I just wanted to come here and get my quick respect we can have before we get into Crawford Canelo talk and the aftermath, because I don't really have a lot to say about Crawford Canelo because I feel like I've said so much. And I still have to make videos about all the fights on the undercard that I haven't talked about. But yeah, Ricky Hatton, just a true superstar of the sport. May God rest his soul, and hopefully he'll be all right. If Canelo retires today, who do you think will be the temporary face of boxing until they find a new one? We'll get to that in a second. That actually ties into to one of my talking points. We'll get to it later on because Canelo, like, I don't want to speak on it too much now because I got a running order of talking points I want to get through. But like, Canelo is partially responsible for why boxing is about to have a big struggle as far as the face of boxing and having that next guy to carry the torch. He's partially responsible for boxing's about to go through a real desperate search to find the face of boxing. And Canelo had a chance to pass the baton to Dave Benavidez. And the fact that he didn't do that, and then he fought Crawford, and then Crawford's going to retire. So Crawford can't even really fully capitalize on this newfound fame because he's already 38 and he's on his way out the door. So it's like Canelo kind of screwed the sport over, but we'll get to that in a second. What I wanted to get to is this, all right? And I'll have some nice, good, sweet, humble pie here because it was great. This fight was great because, number one, I didn't have very high expectations for it as far as it being an exciting fight. And to be honest with you, I don't think it was an exciting fight. It's not a fight that I'm going to go back and rewatch ever again, probably. So, yeah, it wasn't a great fight, but it was great because of the history and because of who Terence is doing that to Canelo, right? So it was great. And it was also great because it reminded me that I still don't know shit about boxing. I don't know. BT doesn't know shit about boxing. Because I spent all these years on YouTube. You got. For those of you who watch me, you know, I spent all these years on YouTube. 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. I spent like a good half a decade saying that Canelo Alvarez is overrated. He's not that good. He's trash. Canelo exposed. All that stuff. All to pick this man against one of my favorite fighters. And then, of course, he gets exposed again. So, BT, that's what you get. But, nah, man. I really thought that Crawford, even if he did outbox Canelo, I thought he was going to leave it close enough for the judges to rob him. And to be fair, I mean, some of the judges were still trying to rob him. Like the scorecards were still kind of close, and it was a wide fight. So yeah, I don't know shit about boxing, and I have to do more study. And what this fight re-taught me about myself is that, like somebody said earlier in the live, is that I have to let fights play out, and I can't be so much in my feelings because I was so upset. A lot of my anger for this fight and towards this fight stemmed from the fact that Canelo Alvarez, right, was in position that if he beat Terence Crawford, he was going to get all this credit, and people were in the build-up starting to say that if he beat Crawford, he'd be the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. So I was mad about that. I was mad because I wanted to see Terence Crawford fight a lot of guys at 54 and some of the guys at 47, right? And then on top of that, like in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, Terence Crawford turned pro as a lightweight. He was the lineal lightweight champion of the world. There's no way he can go up to 168 and become a lineal super middleweight champion. You know, that doesn't happen before. Those things don't happen in the modern era. You know, we read about these things. You know, we read about the guys like Sam Langford and Henry Armstrong and these great fighters that we see in the history books, but there's not a lot of footage of them. You know, we didn't witness their careers. We didn't see them from their first world title to the later signature fights. So it's like those fighters from those days, like Benny Leonard and Henry Armstrong and Sam Langford, like these guys are almost like folk tales. Like it doesn't even feel like they're real, right? So being a boxing fan my entire life, I've never seen nobody do what Crawford tried to do, right? So I'm like, there's no way. In my mind, I'm being too rational. I'm like, there's no way he's going to go become the lineal super middleweight champion. He's coming off a year layoff. He didn't look so good against Madrid his last fight. And sure enough, what does Terence Crawford do? He becomes the lineal super middleweight champion of the world. So respect to Terence Crawford. And you know what? I've actually drawn inspiration in my own life from just Terence Crawford with how he moved in this fight, as far as like dealing with people like me in the media, dealing with the critics, dealing with it on fight night, because it's like he has Terence Crawford's best quality. It's not his counter punching. It's not his punching power. It's not his finishing. It's not his speed. It's not his switching ability. Terence Crawford's best trait, and I've heard this for years. I've heard this in interviews. I had Bradley tell me many years ago in an interview. I had Maurice Hooker tell me many years in an interview that, you know, Terence Crawford is such a competitive and hyper-focused, driven individual. You know, this is a guy that I've heard through the grapevine, through people that I know him, that that like when Terence Crawford, because normally when you're in a training camp like I am right now, normally you in the gym 6 days a week. You're in the gym. Some days you're doing your strength and conditioning and you're doing the gym. Some days you're doing cardio, gym, and conditioning, doing 3 days, right? But generally speaking, for most fighters, their rest day is Sunday. You don't do shit on Sunday. You sit, you chill, whatever leisure activities you like to do that aren't bad for your body, you do them on Sunday. But I've heard through the grapevine that Terence Crawford likes to like walk up mountains and walk up and down mountains for his active recovery on Sunday. So that right there in itself, when I heard that a couple of days ago recently when I was talking to someone, and just that in itself will tell you that Terence Crawford is different. So I'm happy, and this fight has taught me a lesson that I will not forget, which is BT, get the fuck out of your feelings. You know, just enjoy the fights. Stop trying to be so hypercritical and stop taking boxing so seriously sometimes. That's really what I learned from this fight. So yeah, I don't know shit about boxing, and that's what it is. But anyway, let me see. We got I think I missed a super chat. Shout out to everybody here. Hold on, I missed a super chat. Where we at? Who do you think will be the next upcoming Bud Crawford? Nobody. There's no such thing as the next upcoming Bud Crawford. You know, they don't grow 5 division champions on trees. There's only 7 of them in boxing history. Now in a way, could become the 8th if he wins the featherweight title. Who will be the next Terence Crawford? I don't know. I know who it's not going to be. It's not going to be Jerron Ennis. I'll tell you that. It's not going to be him. I like Keyshawn Davis. I think highly of him, but I don't think it'll be him either, because I feel like, you know, Keyshawn, for all the great things he does do in the ring, he just has a lot of things mentally. And he's already like 25, 26. So that's not young, but that's not old, but that's not young either. You know, he's supposed to be having the legacy fights now, and he's basically like on a retirement. So, you know, I don't want to compare nobody to Crawford. Crawford is a one-off. He is an outlier. Matt Borgeson, shout out to him again with the super chat. He says, I truly hope Crawford doesn't continue to spread his ideologies to the younger generation, or we'll have another Mayweather era, media hate era. Listen, what I've come to, like, I'm getting to that point. Like, it is annoying, and it is a tired ass narrative that fighters use to motivate themselves. And I used to get angry about like when I would see Shakur Stevenson or Terrence or Andre Ward or Canelo or, you know, Raymond Ford, just any fighter who uses things in the media to say that the media was against them, that old tired ass narrative, they were against me. You know, what I've come to realize is that, you know, fighters are going to use whatever they can for inspiration, because I'm going to tell you guys like this. I'm in a training camp right now. These days are long, they're tough, they're arduous, and I'm not in the one fucking training. I'm overseeing all the other stuff that's outside the gym. But like, for the fighters, it's tough. Like, you need something that's going to get you up, and many days you don't feel like you want to get up and go to training and run the mountains and and do hill sprints and go do sparring and then do 3 days and then do your conditioning at night. Like, nobody wants, like, let's be real, guys, like, nobody wants to do that, but fighters sacrifice that because they believe in themselves and they believe in a vision they have in their head of being great, being champion, right? So these fighters like Crawford, like Ward, like even Raymond Ford, any fighter, they need the media. They need the media to give them that extra motivation. And sometimes they need the media to doubt them so that they can go to another level in training. So It's good. It's good for them. It's not gonna stop. I mean, fighters are going to fighters are always going to use the media for motivation, whether the media speaks good about them or bad about them. That's just how it is. Usually, a great big man beats a great smaller man, but a great big man got beat by a super great smaller man. I would agree with that. Or I don't know. See, it's not always the case. That's like an old boxing adage. I feel like that narrative started with like Billy Conn and Joe Louis. Like everybody uses Billy Conn and Joe versus Joe Louis as the standard for like little man versus smaller man because they're like, okay, well, Billy Conn was more skilled, but Joe Louis knocked his ass out in the 13th round or whatever it was. It's not always the case. Ray Leonard came up and beat Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Duran scaled a bunch of weight classes and was beating up bigger guys. Pacquiao beat up bigger guys. So there's plenty of examples of the smaller man beating the shit out the bigger man. Plenty of, But yeah, there are many examples of the great big man being the great little man. And it's very impressive when the little man is able to do that. To do that, especially when that little man is going to a weight class that, he's never competed in before. So I give Crawford that. Outlaw Boxing says, my bro, salute to you, champ. Good to see you. Let me see. BT, based, hold on. I'm getting a lot of comments right now. I'm trying to keep up with them. BT, based on the style, hold on. I don't want to talk about, honestly, guys, look, I'm going to ignore all the NOA comments because I'm going to go live. I'll talk about NOA tomorrow. Today is Terence Crawford Day. We're not going to talk about NOA till tomorrow. So I'm going to, unless you super chat me, I'm going to ignore any and all NOA comments because I want to save what I think about NOA for my video that I'm going to do tomorrow morning and my live tomorrow night. So we'll get to NOA tomorrow. Hold on, but let me see. What else did I miss? What weight will Bud's next fight be at? He might not fight again. I think he should go out on top. He's hinted at middleweight. He's hinted at he's hinted at moving down to middleweight. He's hinted at retirement. I think he's unsure. Right now he's at the Raiders game. He's at the Raiders game, just basking in the glory, enjoying the fruits of his labor. I'm sure it was a hard training camp, so let the man get some time to reflect and enjoy his win and go on a vacation and have his parade in Omaha and do all those things. BT, I don't know if you take video cuts, but if you do, you should do a video about how Crawford, Usyk, and Inoue clearly defied this era and what makes them special. That's a great idea for a video. They're all great fighters, and I've talked about them all a lot over the years. So yeah, for sure. Hold on, let me see. I always said Canelo was never on the level of Chavez, Sanchez, Morales, Barrera, Marquez, the true Mexican all-time greats. That's what I'm saying. Canelo Alvarez, to me, if we're talking about the true Mexican greats, he's not on the Mount Rushmore. Like, I don't think he is. I never thought he was even within shouting distance of Salvador Sanchez. I have a whole video from like 2022 saying he's not. I don't think he's better than him. I don't think he's better than Ricardo Lopez. I don't think he's better than Eric Morales. And it keeps getting found out over and over and over again. So it's what it is. Bud looks like he can box 15 rounds. He probably could. I think he could. He's probably one of the only guys I could honestly say in boxing that I think could compete in the 15-round era and be all right. I kind of wanted to see Inoue be the first three-time undisputed respected Bud, though. Now can Inoue become number one pound? Is it impossible? Look, I'm gonna tell and I'm not gonna speak too much to Inoue because I just said I'm gonna save a lot of what I think for my Inoue live tomorrow and my Inoue video in the morning that I'm gonna do. But if Inoue wants to be truly a pound number one fighter, then he needs to do what the fuck I've been asking him to do for like over a year, which is stop playing these games at 122. I understand this Junto fight will help him. I'm not gonna downplay or discredit the Junto fight. The Junto fight is a great fight. Junto is on the pound list. So, of course, do the Junto fight. Fight Junto. Because he's one of the best fighters in the world, just like Inoue's one of the best fighters in the world. But after that, like, bro, if you want to really cement yourself as a number one pound guy and try to get that spot, you got to go to featherweight. Like, stop this bull. You need to go to featherweight. You need to fight them Espinosas. You need to, because he's going to be a favorite against all featherweight champions. Go run through Ball, Espinoza, Angelo Leo, become the featherweight undisputed champion, become a 5-division champion like Bud, and then I think the number one spot is open for a conversation again. I think, but until he goes to featherweight, I don't think there's really a way he could he could really get that spot. If I'm just being honest. But you guys honestly think Chavez, Morales, Sanchez, Barrera could have done better than Canelo 2 nights ago? I mean, Salvador Sanchez wasn't like he wasn't a 168 pounder, but if him and Bud were the same size, he would definitely do better than Canelo did against Bud. I have no doubt about that in my mind. BT, if you had to put three names in which younger fighters under 25, who do you give the best chance to reach all-time great status? That's a great question. So I'm gonna give you three names right now. You guys ready? Make sure you write these three names down. Let me see. And I'm gonna make sure I pick a different fighter from each country. So I won't pick two Americans. I won't pick two Japanese. I'll pick one fighter from each country. Let me see. I'm not sure how old he is yet. I'm pretty sure he qualifies because he's under 25. I'll say Abdullah Mason. I'll use him as my American representative. For my Japanese representative, I'll pick the guy upstairs for me in the camp house, my Yugo Osaki. I feel like Yugo Osaki, he's fighting in a title eliminator October 3rd. Make sure you guys support me, Yugo Osaki, because if we're a team. We're a team. We're together. So if you guys support him, it means you support me. It's the same thing with like Angelo as well. But I feel like Yuga has the frame to be a champion in like 4 or 5 weight classes, and he's got the skills and the boxing brain and the dedication. There's no fighter in Japan under 25 with a higher ceiling than Yuga Osaki. Not Reito Tsutsumi, not Kaiosuke Takami, not Aoi Yokoyama, not Yuta Sakai. None of them guys. Yuga Osaki has the highest ceiling of anybody in Japan. So I'll say Dula Mason, Yuga Osaki, and then let me see. Maybe we'll go with let me see. We can't pick nobody from America. We can't pick nobody from Japan. Let me see. Is there anybody from Eastern Europe that I can think of? No, not right now. You know what? We'll go Marco Verde. Why not? I feel like Marco Verde is very, very skillful boxer. I'm not sure if he's under 25. He might not be under 25, but yeah, we'll go Abdullah, we'll go Yugo Osaki, and we'll go Marco Verde. I think I like those three names. You better not pick Angelo Leo. I can't. Angelo Leo is 31. I can't pick him. But I'll tell you, since you brought it up, I'll tell you when I am gonna pick him. I'm gonna pick him to beat Naoya Inoue when they fight. When that fight comes up, we're gonna beat the brakes off Naoya Inoue. I can't wait for that fight. Y'all gonna sit here. The whole boxing world gonna be against us. I'm gonna get these crazy comments, and we're gonna beat the brakes off of them. It ain't gonna be Junto. It's not gonna be Picasso. It's gonna be the guy I always told you it was. So, and I'm gonna say it about 10,000 more times before they fight. So, shout out to my boy Koi from the mean streets of Yokohama, Kanagawa, Japan. Good to see you, champ. Hope all is well. Osaki is fighting in a WBO eliminator. How do you think he would do against Rene Santiago? Rene Santiago is a good fighter, tricky boxer. He's already went to Japan and upset, a Japanese fighter to win the title. I believe it was Iwata, right? He upset Shokichi Iwata. But I'll tell you this, with all respect to Shokichi Iwata and all the guys that Santiago has fought in his career, they ain't no fucking Yugo Osaki. I'll tell you that right now, this kid. Like, I know you guys are probably going to say, BT, you're being biased, but before I was even in camp with him, you guys can go watch my video from December when I didn't even know him. And I was telling you guys back then even, he had a high ceiling. He was really good. But now it's different because I've seen him in the gym. I've seen him spar. I know what kind of person he is. Yo, he's like, I really feel like, he's not getting enough shine because he's in the light flyweight division. He don't got Turkey behind him. Mr. Honda ain't really pushing him like that just yet. But mark my words, guys. If you ask, I wish I might need to bring some of the fighters in the gym with him to tell you guys, so you guys don't think I'm biased. If you ask Joshua Buatsi or Chev Clark or any of these guys that I see at the gym all the time, they'll tell you. They will tell you about Yuga. He's really, really good. He's like top tier. Shout out to Hollow Ninja with the super chat. He says, I think that chick from the shorts is new to boxing. No, she's not new to boxing. She's a longtime Canelo fan. Her name is Liza. She's always on Twitter talking about Canelo, bigging him up, and she's riding with Canelo to the end, as she eloquently stated in the shorts. So, I thought it was good content because she be talking crazy on Twitter, and she's a known Canelo supporter in the Twitter boxing community. So I felt like those shorts were fun to make today. I enjoyed those. Do you think Mason has more potential than Bam? More potential than Bam? I mean, Bam. I don't think Bam is in the fight past. Because Bam was champion at what? 112, 115. So Bam's a 2-division champion, right? He's going to try to become a 3-division champion. I think at the most, Bam becomes a 4-division champion. I don't think Bam will go to featherweight or anything like that. He might even find his limit at 118. But as far as having more potential than Bam, I think they got about the same potential. I feel like I think Abdullah Mason is going to be a 3-division champion. I think Mason will win a title at 35, 40, and 47. I don't know about 54, but I think he's definitely winning a title as high as 147. I had no idea Bud had been so underrated in the past. Shout out to Bud. He absolutely deserves to win. Oh, no, he's great. He's great, and he did his thing. I think Bam can beat Inoue. What do you think? I don't think they're ever going to fight. I think it's a completely useless matchup, not even worth talking about, because Mr. Honda is never, ever in his life going to make that fight happen. But if they could fight each other, I would give Bam a shot. Who do you think would give Yuga his toughest fight around light flyweight to flyweight? That's a great question. Based on what I've seen in the gym, based on what I've seen in his fights, let me think. Right now, against all the light flyweight champions, the only champion that I really think would give him any problems at all is actually the Carlos Canizales. Style-wise, I think Carlos Canizales is the only guy at light flyweight that would give any sort of problems. I think he beats the brakes off Santiago. I think he beats him Siri easily, and I think he beats Kaosuke Takami pretty clearly as well. But I don't think that Canizales would be the hardest guy. Let me think. 112. I think Olas Kuaga will give Yuga a very good fight. I think Anthony Olas Kuaga would be a really, really good fight. Just because Anthony Olas Kuaga lets leather fly, and there's still I don't want to get into the X's and O's, but there's still some things that I think Yuga needs to clean up. But I like Olas Kuaga as a tough fight. I'll say right now, maybe like an Anthony Olas Kuaga, or I'll tell you this fight probably won't ever happen, but if it did, if Oscar Collazo moved up from 105 to 108, I think Collazo would. You know what? I'll say Oscar Collazo. If Collazo hypothetically moved up from 105 to 108, I would say Oscar Collazo. Just because of experience. Joshua Boatsi, you just answered my question about Yuka's trainer. That's not his trainer. See, you think you know what you're talking about. If you think that his trainer is Virgil Hunter, you're wrong. His trainer is not Virgil Hunter. So again, keep guessing. Well, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys all his business. If you want to know who his trainer is, watch his next fight. Or stay tuned to True School Sports. I might interview his trainer if his trainer allows me to. But I'm not gonna sit here and put everything out there because you never know who's watching. There's only 31 of you here, but sometimes I always figure out who watches my channel when I go to fights. I don't know. It be people that are really influential. So I don't. A lot of influential people do watch True School Sports in the boxing industry. So let's not talk too much. BT, who do you think would win, Ricardo Sandoval or Yabuki? Ooh, that's a good fight. And you know what? Let me backtrack. Add Yabuki to that list. I think Yabuki. Yabuki's not as skillful as Olas Kuago or even Yuga, but man, Yabuki can punch. So I would actually say, you know what? Let's go with Masamichi Yabuki. We'll put Yabuki number 1 as the toughest fight. We'll put Olas Kuaga 2, and then we'll put Carlos Canizales 3. Maybe those 3 guys, I think. Outlaw, yes. Also, Canelo tends to cover his intellect more than any opponent in his career. Yeah, very true. Very true. Anyway, second talking point. I wanted to address this because this was brought up to me in the last live, and I've seen it thrown out there in the Twitter boxing sphere about this whole thing about people are completely people don't care. It's like, bro, Bud just beat Canelo. Like, I'm not the biggest Canelo fan, but like for him to do that coming up from basically 147 is impressive. But now it's not enough. Now they say, well, what about him versus Bivol? You know, Bivol was talking about going down to 168 to fight Canelo for his undisputed titles, and Canelo wouldn't give him the opportunity to. So now what about Bud? Now I'll be honest with you. I think that fight's completely unnecessary. I feel like Bivol has things he's got to take care of at light heavyweight. Maybe he could even explore move to cruiserweight. But I don't like that fight. I mean, it'd be a good fight in terms of like two of the top 5 pound for pound fighters going at it. You'd have Bivol, who's significantly bigger than Crawford. Like, this isn't like a Canelo thing. Like, Bivol is pushing a legitimate 6 feet tall. He's a solid light heavyweight. You know, he's big. He's big as shit. And unlike Canelo, he uses his jab and feints and is a master boxer. So it's not the same style matchup. It ain't the same circumstances. And at a certain point, guys, size does matter. Like, respect to Crawford. Like, he's done his thing. He's pushed the limits. He's shown us what greatness is. But like, at some point in time, size does matter. And for me, from an advisory standpoint, the only thing left for Crawford to do in his career is fight at middleweight and try to become a 6th division champion if he wants to continue to fight. But I'll tell you this though, from the Bivol side of things, if Bivol were to beat Terence Crawford, oh my God, this dude would have Canelo, Beterbiev, and Crawford on his resume. So he'd have to be like he'd have to have like the best resume like ever, because that'd be insane. Canelo, Crawford, Beterbiev on his resume. Theoretically, it's an interesting fight, but doesn't make any sense because Terence Crawford, he's too damn big. Yeah, and Zordo as well. Like you mentioned, Zordo Ramirez. Yeah, Zordo Ramirez is another fight that he needs to go ahead and do. BT, these things often take years to be understood and appreciated. Talking about with Crawford? Yeah, I mean, I appreciate it in the now. Like I'm not waiting for it to be 10 years from now to give him his flowers. I'm giving him his flowers right now. He earned it. Donaire versus Daigo Higa. Oh my God, really? I mean, that's not a bad fight. Give me yeah, give me Donaire. I can't believe I'm gonna say it. Give me Donaire in that fight. Fuck it, why not? We'll go Donaire. We'll be biased. We'll pick Donaire. Bivol beat Zordo BT. That's right. So, and you're right. That win gets forgotten about a lot. He did beat Zordo. He's the only guy to beat Zordo. Look at what Zordo's gone on to do. Zordo became the first Mexican to win the cruiserweight title. He's unified some titles. He's a fantastic fighter in his own right. So Bivol would have, imagine that resume, like Canelo, Beterbiev, Zordo, Crawford. That would be probably the best resume in years. So we shall see. I would rather see Bivol versus Benavidez straight up at 170. Yeah, man. And I don't even want to get started on I don't even want to get started on like Crawford versus Benavidez. Like, that's ridiculous. Like you guys, like, is it not enough? Like the guy's done enough. He don't need to fight Dave Benavidez. We'll get to Canelo in a second, but I stand corrected. I look forward to seeing an interview with Yuga. Yeah, thank you, man. I had him on a live like 2 weeks ago. If you go back and you check it, great kid, man. Great kid. Pleasure to be around. Fun fighter to watch. If you guys like Junto Nakatani and Bam Rodriguez, Lomachenko style, a little bit of Shakur, like he's got a little bit of all those guys in him. He's a special talent. It's just a matter of getting him the fights and him winning the fights. And I think 2026 he does become a world champion. And it's been one of my life's greatest joys to be here with him in training camp and oversee all the things, that outside the ring. Would you be shocked that Bam Rodriguez? No, I wouldn't. Donaire is about the right age for a Bam fight. Bam likes him nice and old. BT, I know you can't spill who Yuga's trainer, but has he trained some world class talent? Also, what is your favorite dinner that Yuga cooks? Has he trained any world class talent? I'm not sure actually. I'm not. I know he's been the understudy to some world class talent. Like he's been part of the team for really great fighters, but I actually don't know. But all I can tell you is his trainer is not a big name. It's not somebody that you would know. It's not even a guy that I even know who he was until I came back, until I came to the Bay Area 2 weeks ago. But his coach, from what I've seen in the gym, he knows boxing. He's a good trainer. I would give him my stamp of approval, and I'm happy that Yuka is going into battle with him as the coach because he knows what he's doing. But as far as dinner, I mean, Yuga's on a very very strict meal plan from the nutritionist. So whatever Yuga eats, I eat pretty much. So um, we eat the same things. I mean, we normally have our shake. We have a shake at night, which is my favorite part of the day. Um, what else? What does he have? Like right now, we're at a stage where we're having grilled chicken and soup and rice and these kind of things. So we're eating good, living healthy, and but when I first came to the Bay Area, Yuga was cooking before we started working with this nutritionist, and I liked the salmon and he made me an omelet one time. I don't know if you've ever been to Japan, but there's these noodles called yakisoba noodles, and he made me a egg omelet, and he put the yakisoba noodles inside the omelet, and then he put some. Yeah, it was amazing. So I would say that's the best thing I've had so far in camp. You eat, champ. You eat what he eat, champ. Yeah, you eat, champ. Let's fight, champ. Let's train, champ. Let's go, champ. Yes, sir. Have you noticed that every top boxer has lost to an Olympic boxer? I just noticed that every Olympic medal holder beats the top boxer that ever went to the Olympics. You should do a list of them. Yeah, I mean that's not always true. Ollie Harrison got his ass beat by plenty of guys, and he was a gold medalist. Zhao Schming had two gold medals. He didn't pan out in the pros. Daniel Lusinov has two gold medals. He had promotional issues, so that's not always true. I know you said you don't like Turkey, but he does get a lot of eyes on him, and it looks like he likes Rachel. How successful do you think he'll be if he keeps winning and if he sticks to Turkey? That's a great question. Um, Boxing's about to go into a whole new phase because Turkey will still be involved, but I felt like Canelo Crawford was his swan song. Like he's going to be involved in boxing, but he's not going to have as much influence and power now as he did with Dana White coming into the fold. And most notably, see, you guys think that, and I touched on this on my last live. Not my last live, but my live before the Crawford Canelo fight. It's like 3 lives ago. I touched on this. I said the Turkey was the most influential figure in boxing, and he's about to be replaced and supplanted with Ari Emanuel, the head of TKO Boxing and Endeavor, who are spearheading all this stuff with Dana White in boxing now. But as far as Turkey, like, look, I give credit where credit is due. It's not that deep. I don't agree with what I think boxing going to Saudi is going to do for the overall health of boxing long term. I made that very clear. But as far as September 13th is concerned, 2025, Allegiant Stadium, Canelo Crawford, I thought it was a great event, and I thought they did a remarkable job promoting the fight. As far as Reito Sutsumi, I like Reito. I think Reito's very good. It's very interesting because Reito and Hayato are not going the traditional route of that Japanese fighters go. Like Reito's damn near had all his fights professional fights in the States. He hasn't fought in Japan yet. So my question will be is when does Turkey plan to take him to Japan? Because as great as it is to build a fighter in America, and trust you me, I have some really out of the box ideas myself to help Yugo Osaki become the biggest Japanese fighter ever in America, even bigger than Inoue. And when I execute them, and just long as he keeps winning, it's going to happen. But at some point in time, the Japanese fighters need to go to Japan and conquer the market there. So I don't know how that's going to work. Mr. Honda is a very, very powerful man. So Turkey and Mr. Honda will have to be on one accord because if not, it ain't going to work. Turkey might be running shit in the UK, and he might have even taken over the American market. But I'm telling you right now, the Japanese boxing market is dependent upon nobody else. They're self-sufficient. They're in their own lane, doing their own thing with their own TV channels. So it really all depends on what Turkey's relationship is with the powerful figures in Japanese boxing. But Reita Sutsumi has all the talent in the world to go as far as he wants. He's a very, very good fighter. Quite possibly, he might like. Quite possibly, I would say, as far as the great young Japanese fighters, I mean, he's definitely in the top 5. I would say Yugo Osaki, Reito, Yuta Sakai, and Aoi Yokoyama. Those are like the big three or the big four, I would say. The big four young Japanese fighters. Although I will say Yokoyama, I think his stock has lowered a little bit because he didn't look so great his last fight, and he needs to do his thing. Damn, bro. You holding Turkey to some standards. He just got in the boxing in 2023. Give him time, man. Did you give Al Haymon that same energy? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I gave Al Haymon that energy. So much so to the point that I got 2 copyright strikes on this channel from Al Haymon, and I've had people from PBC in the last as early as July of last year pressed me in the Las Vegas media room at the MGM Grand for things I said in 2016 about Al Haymon. I was called a racist, and I was said by many people in the LWC that I hate black fighters and that I hate black people because I was giving PBC a lot of flack for bullshit they were doing back then. So I've kept the same energy for everybody. I don't got no favorites. In my mind, I've read contracts from all these promoters, and they're all playing the same game. So to me, I don't have a favorite. I think they're all out for themselves, and they're all there to exploit the fighters to the highest degree for their benefit. So I don't have a favorite promoter. I'm not fanboying from these promoters. They all have their positives and negatives about them. As far as Turkey just getting into boxing in 2023, I don't think he's going to be in boxing much longer. Like, even though he said he is, I mean, today he was just at the NFL with Tom Brady, at the Raiders game, and they signed a contract. They're going to do a whole flag football thing. I'm telling you, I don't think Turkey's role in boxing is going to be the same now with Dana White and Ari Emanuel in the fold. I really believe that. Will he still be involved? Yes. But I think slowly but surely he's going to start to step away from boxing because now they're here and they have their own plans for the sport. So he'll be along for the ride, but I don't think he'll be moving the chess pieces like he's been doing these last 2 years. Do you think that event is bringing eyes back to boxing? I think so. I think they did a great job. Like, you guys know I wasn't the biggest Crawford Canelo supporter of the event. You guys know that I was pretty negative, but in a way, it was good. It was good that I had such low expectations for this event because it allowed me to enjoy it. I didn't expect the greatest fight of all time, or anything like that, and I got to enjoy it for what it was. And what it was a nice boxing masterclass from Terence Crawford. But my last talking point, guys, my last and final talking point, and then from there on out, we could just freestyle and talk about whatever y'all want to talk about. I'll let y'all guide the rest of the live, but I want to get this last thing off here, and this is for Canelo Alvarez, right? Because Canelo, we all know what the mega fight for him was way before this Crawford thing was ever a possibility, and that mega fight was Dave Benavidez, and he decided to not fight him because his pride got in the way. He didn't want to have another, Mexican or Chicano, so to speak, take the baton from him. He didn't want to do what all the great fighters before him have done, like Chavez and De La Hoya. They had a passing of the torch. Mayweather, De La Hoya, in a sense, was a passing of the torch. There's been plenty of examples in box history of passing of the torch fights, and they're good for the sport, because it allows the older fighter to get one last great fight and a chance at glory. And it allows the younger fighter to show that if he can win, if he can beat this old great lion, that he can then use that as a springboard to ascent himself into boxing stardom. And then boxing will have its next guy, the next face of boxing. And it's good for the sport. The sport has someone to build around, right? But see, by Canelo not fighting Dave Benavidez, boxing long-term is kind of fucked from a mainstream standpoint. And I'm going to tell you guys why. Because as great as Terence Crawford is, and he's amazing, he's great, he's not going to be around much longer to even capitalize on all this newfound stardom and success and these kind of things. He's going to be out the door soon. He's 38 years old. At the most, he's got maybe one and maybe
maybe 2 fights left, but 2 is really pushing it. I want to say 1 at the most, right? So Canelo, he's out the door soon, and while he's still a big draw, people aren't gonna look at him the same because he lost to a guy that came from welterweight. Crawford ain't gonna be here much longer, right? So really, the fight that would have benefited boxing the most would have been Canelo versus Benavidez, because if Canelo would have beat Benavidez, it would have enhanced the legacy of Canelo. And if Benavidez was actually the goods and was good enough to beat Canelo, well, then guess what? We would have had our next face. And that's a guy right there, because I'll tell you this, being the face of boxing just isn't about being a great fighter. It's about being the kind of person and being the kind of fighter that's wired to carry that with responsibility, And not like there's a lot of really good fighters in boxing, champions, pound for pound guys, but there's only maybe like a handful of fighters in the whole sport of boxing that, from a mental standpoint, from a personality standpoint, from the way they look, a mindset standpoint, that have the ability to really be the face of boxing. And I feel like Benavidez is one of those guys. Benavidez is one of the only fighters that really gives a fuck about his fans. I can honestly say that, because I remember last year when I covered the Tank Frank Martin fight, he fought on the undercard in his light heavyweight debut against Alexander Gvozdyk. And he didn't get a stoppage, but he won the fight very easily. And Dea Benavidez was crying. And you may ask, well, BT, why is he crying? If you guys remember, the reason he was crying is because he wanted to deliver the fans a knockout. And it actually emotionally hurt him that he didn't deliver a knockout for the fans. And he had went through a lot in camp. I guess he had a hard camp. He had a messed up hand. So that's how I know that was the moment that I knew that Benavidez was built to be a guy that could carry the sport of boxing forward. But he needed to get this fight against Canelo to have the opportunity to become that. Now, could he still become that? Sure. But the road to doing that is 100 times harder, because let's be real, who at light heavyweight or cruiserweight could Benavidez beat that's going to put him in that position where he can now be the face of boxing? It's like you're not as good as Jao Pataya is and Beterbiev and Bivol. Even if he beats those guys, he's not going to become the face of boxing off of that. So he has a lot of work to do if he ever wants to become that. So I don't know I honestly don't know where the hell the next face of boxing is coming from. I could give you guys my guess. I mean, I gave you guys a couple of names earlier, but really, I think the sport is going to have a long, tough, arduous, and desperate search for the next face of boxing, because being the face of boxing is not just about your talent. It's not just about your skills. It's about having the personality and the charisma that's engaging enough with fans to be that. You understand? Why do you think Terence Crawford, for as great of a fighter as Terence Crawford is, and he's great, like I'm highlighting that the whole week, why do you think that it took him so long to get the opportunities? Because he wasn't the kind of guy that was wired to be the face of boxing in terms of like how he connects with people. Like, let's just be real. Like he's not a guy that's been the most media friendly. He doesn't act in his interviews the way he acts off camera, and I like, let's be real. So he being the face of boxing isn't just about being a winner and your skills in the ring. That's a big part of it, but that's not the only part of it. It's about having the charisma and the ability to connect with fans because of who you are and how you go about your business. And and on top of that, a fighter has to be willing to embrace that. You understand? Like Canelo Alvarez embraced that. Oscar De La Hoya embraced that. Floyd Mayweather embraced that. Sugar Ray Leonard embraced that. A lot of guys don't embrace that because they feel like it's too much. All they want to do is fight. They don't want to deal with the media. All that stuff. So I'm trying to think. Who do I think will really be the face of boxing? I don't know. I really don't know. Like, some people may say, now Inoue could be the next face of boxing, but no, I don't think he can either, because in order to be the face of boxing, like he's the face of boxing in Japan for sure, but I'm saying globally, like Inoue does not care about being famous. He just wants to fight, which is totally understandable. And he's already a superstar in his country, so he doesn't need to be famous in America, right? So he'll be the face of boxing in Asia and boxing in Japan, but I don't think Inoue could be the global face of boxing, right? Usyk, no, he's too old. I mean, who do you guys think? Drop me some names. Super chat some names. Who do you guys think? I'll tell you this: if my boy Yugo Osaki learns some English, if his English gets good enough, we'll make him the face of boxing. How about that? How about that? Shout out to Diego. He says Shakur Stevenson, maybe Shakur. Bam? No, not Bam. Bam is good. I like Bam, but no, he's not face of boxing. Face of boxing is face of. You have to have the charisma and the personality to actually be the face of boxing. If it's a fighter that doesn't do great interview, like doesn't connect with the media, hates the media, they're gonna have a hard time. Not wired to be the face of boxing. Shut the fuck up. No one needs to be friendly. How about this? Where's the block button? Telling me to shut the fuck up on my own channel. We putting you in. We putting you in timeout, champ. You don't come to True School and tell me to shut the fuck up. We do the STFUing up in here, not you. This is some fluffy fucking shit to me. What's fluffy about it? Everybody who's been everyone who's been the face of boxing, Leonard, right? Sugar Ray Leonard, Mayweather, Canelo, De La Hoya. What do they all have in common? They have two things in common. They were great fight. They were obviously creme de la creme, top shelf fighters, but they all had something marketable about them. They had a way. They had a charisma about them. They had a way that they engage with the media and the fans that put them over the top to generate interest, to be the face of boxing. You understand? People don't want to hear this because they feel like, oh, well, the face of boxing should just be the guy that just went in the fights. But the reality is, to be the face of boxing, you have to be a magnetic fighter, a magnetic, type of guy. You need to be someone that people pay to watch fights, and people pay to watch guys win, and they pay to watch guys lose, and sometimes they do both. And it's few fighters in boxing that I think fit that description. Boots, if he beats Crawford, gains a massive following, especially for Mexicans. I doubt he beats Bud, though. And by the way, shout out to my boy Diego. Good to see you in the chat, Diego. Hope all is well. As far as Boots is probably one of the only commercially viable American fighters right now. He's one of the only American fighters that can fight in his hometown and sell, 13,000, 14,000, 10,000 plus tickets consistently. Not a lot of fighters in America can do that right now. So he's got a chance to a degree, but he has to promote himself a little more. And to his credit, I think sparring Canelo helped him out. Possibly. I give Boots an honorable mention. Teofimo Lopez. I mean, if Teofimo Lopez could be consistent, I'll tell you this: if Teo could stay consistent for like 5 fights, big fights, he's the kind of guy. Teofimo, Keyshawn Davis, even Brian Oman Jr. Like, these are guys that have the personality, the charisma outside the ring, to where if the fights and the performances match who they are outside the ring, they could step into that. But remains to be seen. But I think Teofimo Lopez at this point, he's alienated too many fans. He's alienated the black fans. You saying crazy stuff about black people, like, you're not gonna be the face of boxing like that. Sorry. So I think like in 2020 he had his chance to make a run at that and then pissed it away. Virgil Ortiz, possible. Virgil Ortiz is likable. He's starting to talk a little more. Maybe Virgil Ortiz. He's Mexican-American. He has an exciting fan friendly. Maybe Virgil Ortiz. We'll see. I think it's going to be a long, painful, arduous search. But you know what? I think it's going to be good for the fans because a lot of fighters a lot of fighters that have the chance to be the face of boxing are going to fight the tooth and nail to get to that spot. Because once you get to that spot, you are in the position to dictate whatever money you want, and you're in the driver's seat. And every fighter in boxing wants to be where Canelo is at, where Crawford is at, where Inoue is at, being in that driver's seat where you're getting paid, $10, $20 million a fight. All your fights are like the Super Bowl. Every fighter wants that. I don't care what they say. Every fighter wants that. So I think with there being a void now in the coming years, I think we'll be seeing a lot of guys fighting really, really hard. Shout out to Edgar Alas. He says, Boots is ducking the Murtazaliev smoke and Virgil. I won't say he's ducking Virgil just yet. I won't. With Boots, I won't say he's ducking anybody at 154 just yet. The only person I can say definitively that he ducked and avoided is Brian Norman Jr. But we'll give it a little bit more time before we start saying he's ducking people. Hey, bro, today's my last day in Japan before I leave tomorrow. How do you feel? How do you feel, Reverse? You know, your first trip in Japan, you was doing training down there at the Hachiochi Nakaya boxing gym. You know, I'll tell you this, man, like, I've been to Japan 2 times since I've been to Japan 3 times, but it's nothing like the first time. And I wish sometimes I could go to Japan again and experience it for the first time because it was so. I mean, it's special now, but like that first time was special. So I hope it's been a rewarding trip for you. He's fighting Lima. Come on, BT. I mean, I've already said what I needed to say about Boots and Lima. I don't need to rehash that or repeat myself. Good luck to him in his next fight. That I learned a lot about my hands are sore as fuck. I wish I could have done more outside of boxing. Any last minute recommendations? What part of Japan are you in? It all depends on what part of Japan you're in. Um I'm not advising you to go drink, so don't go drinking any alcohol. But if you want to meet interesting people, go to there's a bar down there in Shibuya called Fight Club. It's an MMA gym in the daytime, but they turn it into a bar at night. Go there, and I mean I don't know if they have any non-alcoholic beverages, but go there and just start talking to the bartenders and stuff. You'll get there's a pretty interesting characters in there. There's no need to look for a face of boxing. It's Terence Crawford. Maybe for the it's gonna be a very brief time. He's 38 years old. He don't got a lot of time left. So we're talking about for the foreseeable future. You know, there's players and face of boxing. People still talk about Mayorga and him smoking cigarettes and training before and after fights. He was a major player who understood his gimmick in boxing. Yeah, we need fighters with more gimmicks. We need a guy like Mayorga boxing again. We need a crazy Boots, ducked, Brian, Norman. My man said Brock Jarvis. Yo, Brock Jarvis, the face of boxing. BT, I'm so glad you're not like Ellie sucker nutsack. You were honest and unbiased. I try to be. I try my best to be. But I'm not here to disrespect Ellie Setback. He paved the way for people like me. So even though I don't agree with everything he's doing, um, you know, respect to one of the OGs. I know many foreign tourists say that after their first trip to Japan, they are shocked by people and technology and cleanliness and of course the safety. Yeah, it was my first 2 trips to Japan. Both times I came back to America, I dealt with insane depression because I'm a proud American. I love the stars and stripes. Like I still love the USA, and I think I still do think the USA, contrary to what many people believe in the world, I think the USA is the best country in the world. But shit, Japan, USA could be 1A and Japan could be 1B. Japan is an amazing country. I love it over there. I was very shocked with like the infrastructure there and people, and there's a lot of things I love about Japan. Some things not so much, but for the most part, an amazing country and great people. What is the realistic possibility that Andre Ward comes back, and where should he land a mega fight? I'll tell y'all this, man. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but I mean, I go to his gym pretty frequently because that's where Yuga trains, and I ain't seen him in 2 weeks. It's probably too soon, but what about Reito if he stays in America? Nah, great fighter though, but no, I don't think so. I like him, but when you're a Japanese fighter in a lighter weight class, you're fighting an uphill battle. The only way a Japanese fighter could be the face of boxing globally is if they spoke English. That's my honest opinion. Brian ducked boots. Brian Norman Jr. You know what? That's fair to say. You can say he ducked boots, but he had just won the welterweight title. You know, and most fighters when they win a world title, They defend the belt and make some money. That's what he did. Now, I don't even want to get into this because I felt like all of June, all of May, this is all I talked about. But I'm gonna stand on my square. When the fight was the most realistic to make, Jerron Ennis ducked the fight. I'll just leave it at that. The USA is the GOAT, but I'm satisfied when I go back to my poor ass area. Gonna miss these trains I hate and miss driving. Yeah, I know you don't live in the best area, so I get it. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Bro, do you think Bud stops Boo Boo at 168? I'm just asking for fun. That's a great question. Would he? He might. Shit, he might. If they fought right now, shit, he might. He might do that to beat Andre. Could you guys imagine if Andre beat? I know they'll never fight because there's no reason to. Demetrius Andre is completely irrelevant in boxing right now. But if Demetrius Andre and Bud fought at 68, could you guys actually imagine how crazy it would be if Andre beat Bud? Because Andre was trying to fight Canelo for all those years. But then how crazy would it be if he beat the guy who exposed Canelo? That would be like poetic justice. Jin Sasaki will be the face of boxing. Speaks English, will die in the ring. All action fighter. What else do we need? I'm telling you right. I've told Jin this, and I've told people at his gym, at his boxing gym this. I said, look, if Jin Sasaki could speak fluent English, like if he spoke more English, bro, he'd be massive in the States. He'd be huge because dude, all action fighter. Knocks people the fuck out, gets knocked the hell out, and he has a fun personality. He's probably one of the most fun fighters in Japan I've ever been around. Just so full of life and so fun. That's why I love the guy. That's why Japanese boxers don't necessarily need to fight overseas. Why? Why is that? Imagine Jin Sasaki versus Subram. That'd be crazy. That'd be one for the ages. Ain't gonna be no defense. Yeah, but nah. Subram Matias beat the hell out of Sasaki right now. Jin gotta improve. BT, do you think Andy Hiroka is headed for a Demetrius Andre type career? That's a hell of a question. Like Joe Frazier said. Joe Frazier told Marvin Hagler. He said, "You got 3 strikes against you." He said, "You're black, you're a southpaw, and you're really good." So it's kind of the same thing with Hiroka. He might even have 4 strikes because he's black, he's a southpaw, he's really good, and he's Japanese in a weight class where the Japanese promoters can't control things like they do in the lighter weight category. So he might actually have 4 strikes against him. So maybe because when I get home, I'll dedicate my life to training, boxing, and studying Japanese. I need to stop being lazy and start studying Japanese so I can actually communicate to Yuga easier. Is this your first time being in a camp? No, it's not. This is my 4th training camp. This is my 4th training camp. My first training camp was in 2021. I was in training camp with my boy Marcos Paz. He's like 5-0 now. He's a prospect. He's 5-0. He hasn't really fought like anybody too great, but he's 5-0. I was part of his camp, in 2021, and then the second camp I was part of was Angel Leo versus Venado Lopez, which, as you guys know, was very special. And you guys saw what happened to Venado in that fight. And then I was part of the back half of the camp for Angelo versus Kameda. That camp was interesting because I feel like if I would have been part of the entire camp, Angelo would have stopped Kameda. But that's just my opinion. But yes, my 4th camp. But this camp is special because all those other camps, I had a role. But with this camp, I have a lot more say and control of what goes on outside the ring. Yuga has his coaches. He has his nutritionists. They take care of him. But as far as everything outside of the nutritionist and the coach, it's all on BT. So this is a very special camp to me. WBO light flyweight title eliminator, and we're gonna win, and we're gonna put the world on notice. that Yugo Osaki is one of the best fighters in it, not just from Japan, but point blank period. How does sex retention work in these boxing camps? Great question. Um, it's the hardest thing to do. Being in camp is kind of like being in quarantine. Like for those of you who've never been in a training camp, just when the world shut down and everybody was, in their house all the time, that's pretty much what camp is like. You have your days where you go to the gym, right? So like I'll give you an example. Like today Yuga today so today I had to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning. We had to be out of the house by 6. Yuga had hill sprints at around no. I woke up at 5:50. We had to be out of the house by about 7, right? And then Yuga did hill sprints around like 7:30. We got back to the house around like 8:30, 8:45. You rest a couple hours. I knocked out a couple videos. Then he had a gym training session at 2:00. We were there for like, customary like 2 hours and some change. And that was it for today. So today was actually a bit of a light day. Tomorrow, oh my God, tomorrow's a crazy day. Tomorrow's a 3-a-day. Tomorrow it's sprinting it's hill sprints in the morning. Then it's boxing training, and then it's conditioning at night. So it's 3 sessions in one day. I don't do all I don't do all that. Only training I'm doing is when you go to the gym, I hit the heavy bag, I shadow box, I jump rope, I do my little sit-ups. So I've lost some weight actually. I've lost some weight. I've been eating really healthy. This is probably the healthiest I've ever eaten in any training camp. In my entire life. So I'm fat's coming off of me and stuff like that. But as far as sex retention, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Like you're not going out. You're not going like if you're a disciplined fighter, you're not going out to where there's women. You're in the house. You're chilling. You're just staying out of the way and focusing on the task at hand. But some fighters, I've heard of fighters. I know fighters that even when they're in camp, they go out. And they go out to the club and do stupid shit like that. But not the fight like. Not Yuga though, but yeah. So sex retention should be pretty easy. Like you shouldn't have a hard time with it because you're not going out, and you just gotta stay off your phone past 9:00. Don't be on your phone after 9:00 because then them urges kick in. You might want to go rub one out. We're not doing that, champ. We're retaining. Shout out to Hyro. He says the PBC rollout is happening. It's about damn time. Let me see who else we got. Shout out to everybody. By the way, shout out to everybody here rocking with me. I got to all my talking points. We pay respect to Ricky Hatton. We acknowledge that I don't know shit about boxing. We talked about Bivol, Crawford, and we talked about why Canelo kind of ruined the future of boxing by not fighting Benavidez. So we've taken care of all the things we need to take care of for the rest of the life. So we're at an hour and 23. We're gonna go in even 2 hours. So from now until then, y'all ask you whatever you want, boxing related, non-boxing related. It's True School After Dark. Smash that like button, super chat, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're here. Who do you think age will catch up to them first out of Crawford, Usyk, Lara, and Beterbiev? That's a great question. Well, technically, can you say already that Beterbiev's age already caught up to him because he lost, and Lara's not fighting anybody, so no, he's not relevant. Also, is no masturbation part of a boxer's camp discipline? Yes. Yeah, you're not supposed to masturbate at all. And listen, that's for fighters. It's hard, Like like for me, I don't drink and I don't smoke, so I like bitches. Like I like the girls. Like so I like talking to women and things like that. But we're in camp right now, so eyes on the prize. They ain't going anywhere. Jesus Ramos is going to 160. He beat Lewin, by the way, robbery. Yeah, he's going to 160. He's fighting Shane Mosley Jr. So interesting stuff there. You know shit about boxing, man. You picked Canelo because he was a safe pick. Crawford was the intriguing pick, and Crawford showed up. He did, and I appreciate you saying that I know about boxing. You know, I know a little bit sometimes. um, I mean, look, I called Crawford versus Earl Spence down to the round, so you know, as long as I got that one right, I don't really care about anything. I got that one right, so that's what counts. During training, have you guys ever had to kick someone out because he was messing up the camp? Well, in this scenario, there's no one to kick out because in this camp house, it's just me and Yuga. We're in this big ass house. Yuga has his room on the other side upstairs. I got my room downstairs. So there's no one to kick out. You know, we get along very well, and there's no problems in this camp. Um, I won't say no names. I won't say no names. I won't out nobody. But there was one time in a training camp where a particular person and one of the coaches had a discrepancy, but it got solved. So no, nobody's been kicked out, but one guy got close one time. BT, do you plan on having kids? Yeah, at some point. I don't know when. I'm not gonna rush it. But I gotta meet the right one. I gotta meet a woman worthy of having my kids. I gotta meet a woman that's not batshit crazy, that's not gonna ruin my life. So I think I might have met her, but she's been on some bullshit recently. So I don't know if I met her yet. So until then, we'll just stay focused on boxing. Do you want your girlfriend to like boxing too? She doesn't have to, but you know, it definitely helps. I mean, I would say right now, let me see. Out of all the girls I talk to right now, because I'm talking, there's about probably like 4 girls I talk to right now, and of the 4 of them, three of them like boxing. But the one that doesn't like boxing is the finest one out of all of them. So she might be the one she might be the one. BT, how's that Japan? I don't know. I don't do that stuff when I'm out there. When I'm in Japan, believe it or not, guys, I'm just focused on boxing. I believe semen retention generally works. Sports scientists claim it doesn't, but it's common sense. If you save energy and stamina and electrolytes, you'll be in top shape. It's the truth. It's the truth, guys. Like I've experienced it during this camp. It's the 1000% truth. I'm not telling no lies. I'm being dead serious. I don't be going out with no bras in Japan like that. Nobody believes me. Like nobody ever believes me when I say that. Like everyone thinks I'm just going out to Japan for the bitches and the girls. Like, nah, man. I'm literally just there for boxing. I'm gonna tell you guys this. You guys should get worried about me if you ever catch me in Arizona. Arizona, because they got the Mexican girls there that look like Pocahontas. That's what you got to worry about, BT. But everywhere else, you know, Arizona or South Florida, either one of them 2 places. If I'm going out and you see me out, then that's when you should worry. But everywhere else, I got like impeccable self control. Shout out to TSM Arden. He's asking a great question. He says, "When it's all said and done, what do you want boxing to remember you by?" That's a great question, man. First and foremost, I would like to be known as someone who really put his best foot forward to cover the entire sport of boxing as best as I could. Um, and then I would love to be known as someone that played a vital role in the careers of world championship fighters, such as Angelo Leo and Yuga Osaki, and other fighters too that I think will be champions that I'm helping and stuff like that. I want to just be known as someone who just loved the sport and made it a better place. If that could be the true school legacy, you know, someone that loved the sport and made it a better place and did right by the boxing fans and did right by any and every fighter he came across, then that's okay with me. Like I'm not trying to. It don't gotta be more deep than that. BT, do you think Prime Floyd beats Prime Bud? Yes, without a shadow of a doubt. It's not even a conversation. I don't care how great Crawford is. I think Floyd beats him. I know you as an approach boxer from an organic grassroots perspective. Of course, that's how it's got to be because I didn't choose boxing. Boxing chose me. When and I tell I'm starting to tell the story more often because I'm at a place now in my life where I'm more secure in myself and I can be vulnerable. Like I was at a place in my life where I had suicidal thoughts and I was a lost young man trying to find his way in the world, and boxing is what got me out of like my deep sunken place. So I'm always going to approach it from a very organic standpoint. He says, "Damn, you was quick." Yeah, no, it's not a debate. It's not a debate with me. Like people, I understand. Like I'm not saying it's crazy to think that Crawford could beat Floyd because he's earned his seat at the table with guys like Floyd and Leonard and them kind of guys. He's done unprecedented things in the sport of boxing. But I'm sorry, guys. I watched Floyd's career. I like I bought the pay-per-views. Like I went to the fight parties. Every single time he just was so consistent. Like I like everything Crawford does. I just think Floyd does it better. Crawford's a great counterpuncher. Floyd's the best counterpuncher I've ever seen. Like it's just different. BT, what are the 5 boxers you would love to be part of training camp that you haven't been in, BT? Top 5. I won't name you 5. I'll be honest with you. I think I got the 2 fighters that I want to work with the most until the wheels fall off. Angelo Leo, who I think if he fights all the way up to his potential, will go to the Hall of Fame one day. If he gets the fights and wins them, which I think he will when the time comes. And then Yugo Osaki, I think I see a big future for him. I'll tell you this, man. I'll say I'll give you 2 names. I'll give you no. Let me see. I'll give you him. Let me see. I want to name somebody that I never met before. I'm trying to think who's a fighter that I don't know or haven't met that I would like to be part of the training camp. That I think I could actually organically help. I don't know. The other 2 names apart from Angelo and Yugo Osaki are Jin Sasaki and Ian Green. Those are the only 2 guys I would say apart from the guys I already work with. Teddy Atlas states that Bud beats everyone, including Prime Floyd. Hey, shout out to Teddy Atlas. Great fighter, great man. I've had the honor to speak to him on the phone a couple times. I'm not gonna ever say anything bad about Teddy Atlas. He's given a lot to this sport, but I don't agree with him. I really don't. Floyd has this mystical aura. I don't see, LOL. I don't see it, and I see all the fights going up. Bud is just different. Nah, I mean, nah. He's different, but Floyd's a little bit more different. I think. It's fight week, BT. What's your prediction versus Oscar Collazo versus Jason Vezon? That's a good fight. That's a good fight. I've been watching a lot of guys at 105 and 108 because with me being here with Yuga, I'm doing my best to further. I know a little bit about light flyweight and minimum weight, but I've been furthering my education on light flyweight and flyweight so that if any of these guys get presented to us, I'm not surprised by nothing, and I have them all worked out already. But Vezon's a strong fighter. Vezon, I watched him like a week ago. I forgot which fight it was, but he's very strong. Collazo got hurt in the Gerardo Zapata fight, the Nicaraguan fighter. He needs to make sure his defense is on point because he gets caught the wrong way, he get knocked the fuck out. This guy can really punch like that. But Collazo is the more skillful boxer. Unlike Crawford, he's fighting, same weight class, same size. So I'll go with Collazo by decision. How about that? Ooh, my man Ray got Jason Vezon. Okay, I ain't mad at that. Jason can punch. Jason can really, really, really punch. So, Oscar Collazo defense is leaky. We might have ourselves a new player in the 105 division. We might have ourselves a new little giant in the lighter weight categories. You are friends with Jim's team, so there's a decent chance you can be there in camp. I'd like it. I'd like to be, but I don't think it'll. To be honest, I don't see it ever happening. The Japanese have their way, right? They're very set in their ways at that gym, which is fine. Yeah, I hope so. If I ever got the if I ever had the honor to, I'd take it with both hands. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Hold on. Can you be in camp with other 126 fighters or only Leo? I would never, ever in my entire life work with anybody from 130 to 122 just off the general principle that like um anybody in the weight class could fight Angelo. So anybody at 130 or 122 you can rule out as well as everybody at featherweight. You gotta understand like with Angelo, that's a great friend of mine. Like Miguel Leo, his dad just called me the other day. We were on the phone for like an hour talking about boxing and future plans we have in the sport. I mean, they gave me the opportunity to be part of something historic and add something. So I would never betray them, and I'm loyal. I'm loyal to them. So no, and no amount of money could sway me. Because trust me, I'm not someone that's driven by money. Does Mike Tyson get slept on his boxing IQ in his ring? Yes, he does. People like to always downplay Mike Tyson. I used to even do it at some points in time. But no, Mike Tyson had a great ring IQ. To be the youngest undisputed champion at that size, and then like, have you ever heard Tyson talk about boxing history? This guy's like an encyclopedia of boxing. No, he's brilliant. People don't give Mike Tyson enough credit. Inoue's promoter says that Inoue can now fight at featherweight when he saw Inoue boxing with MJ. Does that mean Hideki Ohashi was the one holding Inoue from featherweight? Yes. Well, not just Ohashi. I really think it was, I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it was Mr. Honda. And the reason I'm going to say it is because, he could, first of all, he oversees even Ohashi in Japan, right? Like, so he's the main guy in charge, the Kaicho, as they call him in Japan. But Mr. Honda knows certain fighters at 126. I won't say the names, but he's seen certain fighters in the gym at 126, and his wife has seen certain fighters in the gym at 126, so they know. If the camp needs an emergency sparring partner last minute, are you jumping in? I would. I actually would. If Yuga said, you know what, BT, I need a round, I give him a round. I give him a round or two, however long I can go. If Collazo underestimates Jason Vazon, it's going to be a short night for Collazo. Yeah, he's really punching like that. Like, he's like all the stereotypes of a Filipino fighter. He is that. Would that be with every fighter you are in camp with? What do you mean, TSM? Please further expound upon what you are saying. So if Hayato Tsutsumi, somebody asked me if Hayato Tsutsumi, where is he? Well, where is that comment? So if Hayato Tsutsumi reached out, you wouldn't work with him? I would politely decline him. Like I told you guys, anybody from 122 to 130 is a threat and a potential opponent for Angelo, and it wouldn't sit right in my soul, in my conscience, to even contribute 0.001% to anybody's success that could be detrimental to him. That's my guy. That's the fighter that really gave me like a chance to realize my dreams in boxing in more ways than one. So I'm loyal. I'm loyal to him. My guy. What in a way pure boxing do you compare to who, BT? That's a good question. Who would I compare Inoue to as far as what we saw in the Merjan fight? It's a good question. Who would I compare him to? I can't think of anybody right now off the top of my head, but I'll meditate on that one for like a day, and then I'm gonna go live and talk about Inoue tomorrow. And you can ask me that same question, and I'll make sure I have an answer for you. Right now, I can't think of anybody. If Yuga becomes world champ, does this policy go for all guys at 108 and 112? When Yuga becomes champ, sometime between February and May of next year, that policy goes for guys. That actually goes from everybody from 108 to 115. Because you never know, he might get a call and for a fight at 115. So everyone from 108 to 115. So yeah, bam. If anybody calls, we're not doing nothing. Only listen, guys. Only a handful of fighters. It's gonna be less than a handful. Like only a handful of fighters will get the luxury of having true school in the camp. And when you have me in the camp, you have access to somebody who has all the time in the world of film study. You have access to somebody that can solve a lot of problems in boxing, like everything from film studying to, you know, communicating with a nutritionist to running miles with you to, if you need an outfit for your fight, I know people for that. Like I got a lot of connections in boxing in different areas. So I'm like a concierge, so to speak. So if you have me in your camp, you have access to a good resource. I'll tell you that right now. We need a top 10 to 20 fighters from the 1970s to now, BT. It's a pretty fun thought exercise. I did it earlier today. A top 20 from the 70s? God dang, you trying to... Shit. Okay, we'll say Mayweather, Pacquiao. We'll go with the gimmies. Mayweather, Pacquiao, Salvador Sanchez, Muhammad Ali, George Foreman. That's tough, man. You make that shit. I need a pencil and paper. I don't know. That's hard. I'm not doing that right now. You crazy? You put me on the spot. You put me on the spot. Hell no. Give us the top 3 fights you'd like to see right now in any division. Great question. Angelo Leo now in a way number 1. That's my definitive number 1. Just so you guys know. That's number 1. I would say Jin Sasaki versus Blair Cobbs. I think that'd be a fun fight. And then we will go with Subriel Matias versus Gary Anton Russell. How about that? I think that's a solid 3 right there. He said it's tough. I spent like 2 hours, and yeah, I thought of 5, and then nah, man, because I'm starting to go through weight classes in my head. It's too hard. I have to get a pencil and paper and a computer. Make sure to give Yuga good advice so he doesn't ruin his body. Oh, trust me, he's getting great advice, and we have a great nutritionist, and we have an amazing coach, and he has an amazing liaison / boxing concierge in the house with him. So we good. We good. We got all the T's dotted and all the I's crossed. I've been telling him and making sure he practices it. The art of rest. Rest is very important, and he understands. He's a smart kid. Angelo better let those hands go when he feels those in-away thumpers. I'm seeing a guy submit. He'll watch because, but Nakatani will be really competitive. Oh, trust me. That's gonna be the least of our concerns. Angelo will let them shits fly when he fight in a way. I'll tell you that right now. I don't know, man. In a way has me second guessing just a little bit if him and Nakatani will actually be competitive. I'm not trying to be a prisoner of the Merjan fight because Merjan is trash. I'm sorry, like Merjan. I was so fair to this guy in the build-up, but like my original thoughts of Merjan Akhmadaliev were all the way confirmed. All those videos where I was hating on him, they were all reconfirmed in the in-away fight. That dude is. I don't care. I'm gonna sound really ignorant right now. I don't care if he was an Olympian. I don't care if he was a world champion. Yo, Merjan is not like that, bro. He's not like that. At no point in his career have I ever watched Merjan and say, "Damn, like, yo, this guy is creme de la creme, top shelf." I thought he's solid. I remember you saying that he didn't deserve the in-away fight. He didn't, and I was right. When the fight got signed and, the WBA made Merjan the mandatory, I stayed consistent with one of my boxing ideologies, which is that you should honor your mandatory. So even though I can't stand Merjan and I think he's just there, I still was fair to him. And I was like, you know what, Merjan can punch, and Merjan hasn't talking a good game, and I think Merjan will come to fight. But nah, man, you didn't even show up to the dance. You talked all this shit. You talked about he don't follow the Bushido code, and you was talking crazy. and he would want. I really think Yi Jun Kim and Paul Butler put a better fight than Merge on. So I'm so serious. And yes, R.I.P. Ricky Hatton, 1,000%. Honestly, Juto has never fought anyone as good as most Inoue's 122 opponents. Who do you guys think is Junto's best opponent? Because I mean, I'm gonna say it's a toss up. I mean, maybe what Maloney, Angel Acosta. Who's the best guy Junto fought? Nishida? I'll say Nishida. We'll go with Nishida. Yeah, Nishida, Maloney, Angel Acosta, those are the kind of guys. I'm behind, but how did you put Abdullah Mason over Brian Norman Jr.? That's a great question. I was put on the spot. Brian Norman Jr. I think has more personality than Abdullah, and he probably based on the things I said earlier with charisma and connecting with the fans. I think he's way better in that department of Abdullah. Abdullah don't really say a lot. I probably would put Brian Norman Jr. over Abdullah, but I was put on the spot, so I said Abdullah just because I think Abdullah is going to get a lot of push from Top Rank. When Top Rank gets a new TV deal, I think Abdullah's going to get a lot of push, and I think he's going to win a world title in multiple weight classes. So I've always been high on him. I remember when Abdullah came down to Miami in 2022, and I set up some sparring for him, and I got to see the kid spar one time, and I was thoroughly impressed. Best performance, yeah. I think the Maloney fight put Nakatani on the map, even here in the States. That was one of them fights that really let the world know who is Junto Nakatani. Do you think Oscar Collazo would fight a Japanese world champion? Well, right now he can't because none of the other champions are Japanese. The other two champions in this division are from the Philippines, Pedro Tajuron and Melvin Jerusalem. So if he wants to fight a Japanese champion, he's going to have to come to 108 and fight. Right now the only Japanese champion is Kaosuke Takami. And in about, I would say 5 to 8 months' time, you have another one named Yugo Osaki. So if you want to come fight one of them guys, you can. But right now he can't. Do I have any boxing memorabilia? Yes, I do. I'm not in my house. I'm in the Bay Area in the camp house right now. But at my house, I don't know if you guys when I'm live in my house, I don't know if you ever seen it, but in my YouTube set, I have a picture of Angelo Leo standing over Renato Lopez after he knocked him out, and he signed it for me, and it says to my good friend BT, and he signed it in a silver marker, and it says and the new 2 times. So I have that. I've got a bunch of Japanese boxing magazines. I got I had this Kenshiro sign that he gave me from when he won his first world title. He gave it to me when I interviewed him in Japan back in 2023 when I went there for the first time. There's only 2 of those banners made in the whole world, and I have one of them. So that's very precious to me. I got old Naoya Inoue Japanese magazines from 2013 on my wall at my house. I got all my credentials from all the fights I covered. So yeah, I got some pretty good, cool Japanese. I got some pretty cool boxing memorabilia. I got a lot more, but that's what I can think of off the top. Is it true that Ball was offered the Leo fight and declined it? It was supposed to be his last opponent. I'm not going to reveal who it is. It could be, could not be. If it comes out on the media, I'll speak on it. Please bring back Rick Glazer. Soon enough. You're right. BT doesn't know shit about boxing, but called Yoshiki Takei trash, and he got knocked out in 4 rounds and cries. Well. You're right. But unfortunately for me, Reverse, people didn't really give a fuck about Yoshiki Takei the way that they cared about Crawford Canelo. So everyone's just like, BT, you don't know shit. So, the biggest fight, I didn't get it right. But I did. I wasn't 100% wrong. I've been telling people for the longest time that Yoshiki Takei is not like that. Y'all, because when I went to Japan last time, it was bothering me. I'm all for fighters getting support, but even the media there, I was watching some Japanese shows and I had the subtitles in English, and they were just talking they were doing too much for Yoshiki Takei. I'm like, guys, he would get the piss beaten out of him by Seiya Tsutsumi, and truth be told, I don't even think he can beat Katsuma Akitsuki, who's not even a champion. Like there's better bantamweights in Japan that don't have titles than him, in my opinion. But it is what it is, you know. Shout out to Christian Medina. If you could have dinner with 3 boxers, past, present, or dead, or alive, who would it be? That's a great question. Joe Louis for sure. That's number one. Joe Louis, I'm a big Joe Louis fan. Salvador Sanchez is number 2, and then let me see. Let's think long and hard about number 3. We'll go Joe Louis, Salvador Sanchez, and then we will go with who we have for 3. You know what? We'll go Riddick Bowe because I've had dinner with Riddick Bowe. I've actually had dinner with Riddick Bowe in real life, and it was a lot of fun. So yeah, we'll go with Joe Louis, Salvador Sanchez, Riddick Bowe. How about that? Has Seiya recovered yet? When is he fighting? Do you know when? No. Well, he's recovered. He was just doing training camp out there in Mexico, but I haven't heard anything about a fight date yet. So when they get a fight date, I'll definitely make a video about it because he's one of my favorite fighters in boxing. Riddick Bowe died? No, Riddick Bowe is alive and he's doing well. But he said past, present, or now, and Riddick Bowe is still alive. Did you see Inoue said he was going for the KO and his dad told him to not go for it? Is this the new Inoue? It could be the new Inoue. I feel like he understands what's in front of him with Junta Nakatani and even Picasso. So he understands that, for the longevity of his career, he's going to have to box more. And you know what? I'm happy that he's actually doing this because, number one, it's going to give him a better chance to win. And it's going to make him a harder fighter to beat and game plan for, which I'm excited about. I'm excited about the future when it comes to featherweight because I want to beat the best Inoue. And I feel like the best Inoue boxes and sets up his knockouts. So, yeah, I like that. And I think he'll only grow in confidence from doing that. What's the next legacy-defining fight in boxing, G? Brian Norman Jr. versus Devin Haney. That's the next one. And I'm very excited about it. I haven't seen much of Sanchez yet, but isn't he in the Hall of Fame? I think it's crazy he was sung. Imagine how far he'd go if he didn't die. He was a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he's widely regarded by many as the greatest Mexican fighter that ever lived because despite him dying so young, he knocked out Wilfredo Gomez, who is arguably the greatest Puerto Rican fighter ever. He's in discussion for the greatest Puerto Rican fighter ever. He knocked out Azuma Nelson, arguably the greatest African fighter ever. And then he knocked out Danny Lopez, a fellow Hall of Famer, out 2 times. And I think if I'm not mistaken, he knocked out Juan Laporte. And they were supposed to do a rematch. And Laporte was a damn good fighter in his own right. And he was supposed to fight. Now, if Salvador would have continued the Salvador Sanchez mega fight, like his Crawford Canelo, if you will, was going to be him moving up a weight to challenge Alexis Arguello. Arguello versus Sanchez is the super fight that never happened because unfortunately Salvador died. But that would have been the fight that really would have put him on another stratosphere. Like, who is Yuga's opponent? Yuga's opponent is Aziel VR from Panama. 21 wins, 4 losses, 15 knockouts. WBO number 15 contender. He's fought a couple guys at the world level. Won some. Lost some, drew some. Not like, in my opinion, like I think Yuga should blast him out of there in about, I'm gonna say 8 rounds or less. Honestly, that's what I think. But you can't underestimate nobody. He's gonna come in hungry, looking to knock this kid out. We're ready, so we'll be more than ready. Yeah, that's the opponent. How is Salvador Sanchez the GOAT if he lost to random nobody? Because he knocked out a bunch of Hall of Famers, something Canelo never did, and something a lot of fighters at PBC Hyro have never done. A lot of the fighters you dick right at PBC Hyro have never even knocked out a Hall of Famer. Some of them haven't even knocked out a world champion. So I want the dudes at 126 to unify right now. I do too. I know Angelo does too, but I don't think it's happening. I really don't. Based on what I know, based on not what I think, based on what I know, inside stuff that I can't talk about. I don't think it's happening. One guy decided to move to 130 and not fight anybody at 126. The other guy has decided to just be at 126 and not fight anybody in the division. And the other guy is becoming a big star in Mexico and is supposedly thinking about going up to 130. So it's like, I don't know. How is Salvador Sanchez? He said, what did Jairo say? Jairo said, you weren't even alive when he was fighting. I mean, Jairo, you were barely alive when 50 Cent was putting out hit songs, and you still love listening to 50 Cent. So let me live, man. Let me have my taste. What do I think about Navarrete versus Nunez? It's a very good fight if it happens. All action fight. You got one volume puncher versus a guy who's a slugger. Great style matchup. Great fight for Mexican boxing. He never unified to fight Pedroza, and those guys weren't Hall of Famers at the time. So I guess the only fighter by your logic, Jairo, the only fighter who deserves credit based on your logic is Mario Barrios, because he's the only guy in the history of boxing who fought a guy who was already in the Hall of Fame, which is Manny Pacquiao, but he didn't win. So how much you want to bet Canelo fights Shiraz next? Yeah, it's still a possibility. I felt like that was more of a fight Turkey would do if Canelo won. But I mean, if he lost, I mean, him losing, I mean, they had to really pay Canelo, which I'm sure they had no problem doing, because Hamza Shiraz is the golden boy of Riyadh season. Foreman is pretty impressive too. I always imagine if he didn't retire and stayed hungry, he'd go very far, because at 40 he was dangerous too. I feel like Foreman's career was awesome. Like, I actually wouldn't want his career to be any different. I think his career playing out the way it did made it that much more special. He went pretty damn far. He was a champion across multiple eras, multiple decades, multiple hairstyles, multiple physiques. Do you think Bob Arum has a hard time sleeping due to Bud winning in their separation and now being an all-time great and has no attachment to it? I don't think Bob gives a honestly. I don't think Bob gives a damn about anything. He's at that age where you live life. You promoted the biggest fights of all time. I don't think he cares. And right now, I mean, he's part of the Inoue hype train. Inoue's making him money that I'm sure he's satisfied with. So I think I think Bob's okay. Filipino Pancho Villa, a.k.a. Francisco Guido, Asia's first ever champion, died the same way at 23 years old. He died tragically because of a dental infection. He was our Salvador Sanchez. Yeah, Pancho Villa, great fighter. I got to read more about him, but I know I like when you read these box history books, you see these names and you know little facts about them. So, BT, if you had a vote, who would you place on your ballot for Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year? Right now, I mean, right now it would have to be Terence Crawford. But if Brian Norman Jr. knocks out Devin Haney in devastating fashion, then that's my vote. That's what's going to. The guy is 31, but actually Yuga size should be a good fight. It's a good fight. Like, it's not like he's not. I don't think he's a killer, but he's not no pushover. Like he's got a good frame. He can punch. He's gonna look to knock us the fuck out because it's his big opportunity. And it's our chance to show what we can do. I love this style. His style is perfect for us. I can't wait. I'm gassed. I hope Bob Arum was alive to see Inoue fight Junto to see the last big success of his life in his biggest fight. Yeah, that would definitely be great. And for that reason, they should make it happen earlier. Naoya seems so young and everything though. He's not. He's been around for a while. And Japanese people don't age. Japanese people, the food over there, I don't know if it's the food or what it is, but they don't age like most of the rest of the world. The rest of society, they would look a little older in the face. Bob Arum is giving Crawford a ton of props in recent years. I'm pretty sure he picked Crawford. I know he picked him against Spence. Yeah, he definitely picked him against Canelo. Bob will probably outlive all of us. Shit, he don't. Don King too. Same with Don. When you gonna get a new iPhone, man? Um, I'm when this one stops working. I don't see why I need to do iPhone. My iPhone is just fine. I like my iPhone. But shout out to everybody here. We're 2 hours in and we still got a pretty good audience. So you know what? I'm gonna give y'all some bonus time. I'm gonna give y'all some bonus time on True School Sports. True overtime with True School Sports. Get your questions in. We're just here talking boxing. I'm enjoying the first day of the new week of camp. We got this week of camp. We got this full week of camp. We got next full week of camp, and then after that, be a fight week. So you know, only 2 more weeks of camp, and I've already been here for like 2 weeks. So 2.5 weeks. So it'll be 4.5 weeks in total by the time we get to the fight. So yeah, it's beautiful. BT, how long have those bottles been on that shelf? That's a great question. See, uh, this bottle probably a couple days. Couple days. You know, no, I don't normally spend too much time down here. This room is a mess because I'm the only time I'm ever down here is to sleep or to when I go live. You know, most of the time I'm either upstairs or I'm out the house at the gym running around. So a lot of time I don't even have time to organize this room the way I wanted to. I got clothes thrown over there. I got, it's camp. When you're in camp, nobody cares. They made 7 iPhones. How does yours still work? I think that's high, bro. That's gotta be Hyro because you don't even know what iPhone I have. The lifespan of a normal Japanese person is 100. It's the environment they live in, their diet, healthy lifestyle. Yeah, man. Shout out to them. I could see why after going there. When you go to Japan, do you get flying? What do you mean? Do I get flying? Like, do I get in a plane and do I fly there? Yeah. I ain't gonna swim there. I don't got a jetpack. You know. How questionable is Canelo's resume now that Bud beat him? In my opinion, Canelo's resume was always questionable. I didn't need him losing to Terence Crawford for me to question his resume. He fought some really good fighters, but he never really definitively beat anybody that was great. That's why I have a hard time giving him the praise that everybody else does. I had the iPhone 6 Plus for 8 years. Yeah, I think I have like I forget which. Like I really don't like when it comes to like the iPhone and shit like that. Like I really don't care, guys. Like my iPhone works. It's good enough to do these live streams and FaceTime people. So that's all that matters. Brock Jarvis was there to be great moving up to fight Keith. He was shit. Yo, poor Brock. I met Brock one time at Top Rank Gym. I'm not that guy. I've seen your videos. I know my phones. I watch the channel like that. That's freaky. That's freaky. If you're not Hyro, um, I'm not getting a new iPhone. I like my iPhone just fine. I think it's doing a good job. When you go to Japan, you don't get nervous flying. Um, I the first time I went, I was nervous. The first time I went, I was nervous because it's like new country. Um, you know, I flew on an airline that's like not a Amer. I flew on a. Anybody who's been to Japan will know this airline, Zip Air Japan. It's like this cheap airline that flies exclusively out of San Francisco, LA, and I think Houston and a couple other American cities. I like that airline. So the first time I flew, I was nervous, and then when I got off the plane, well, what made me nervous wasn't so much the flight; it was getting off the flight and then getting into Japan because it's like I don't know. It's my first time in Japan. Like I don't speak Japanese. I didn't have. I didn't. The first time I went there, I didn't have a bunch of friends there like I do now. So I was nervous the first time, but now I'm happy when I go. Do boxers do enemas to remove extra weight from the fight night weigh-in. What do you think happens in camp that a fighter doesn't make weight as wet? They don't. I think it's an indictment on a fighter and his team. I don't quite under what's an enema? Do boxers do any? What's an enema? As far as like fighters not making weight, I mean, look, we have a nutritionist, and he does a great job of us of Yuga gradually taking off weight. So like right now, we're like we're less than 10 pounds away from his fighting weight, and the weight's coming off nice and gradually, but it's not coming off like fast because there's a lot of misinformation about how to cut weight, and there's even things in this camp that I didn't know about making weight that I've learned, and it's insane how much like I didn't know, and now I know more. So it's like, yeah, I think a lot of it is just like fighters don't have people behind them that know how to probably take off weight, and then the thing is like everybody's body's different, so you got to have the right meal plan, and you gotta have people. You gotta have people that know about this shit. It's not something that you know. Some fighters do it on their own and do it successfully, but it's not something that I would advise fighters to do on their own. If you could afford a nutritionist, by all means, I would definitely do it. It's worth the money. You get like a good nutritionist that knows what they're doing. And enema is a thing that you put in your butt to make you poop, essentially. I don't. Yeah, I never heard about anything like that. But I mean, they have like powders, and they have like fiber pills, so fighters can shit out what they eat, and that helps them take off weight. So I mean, I've seen that in camps. That's common. Yeah, we're talking about. Shout out to idiocy. He's like, what the hell? Yeah, we're talking about. We've got off the deep end. There's only so long we can talk about. Terence Crawford is great, and Canelo didn't fight Benavidez. Like we beat that like a dead horse. Now I'm giving people some camp insights. Yeah, we got to change gear. You guys change gears. At least we're getting Osaka versus Angola. Exactly. At least we're getting the fighting pride of Osaka, Jerron Ennis. Yugo's from Osaka. I should ask Yugo if he knows boots. For my U.S. layover flight, there are only middle seats. Should I choose left or right for your layover flight? I like window seats. So if you can get a window seat for both flights, I would go with window seat for both. I just got here. We're talking about poop. Yeah, because they were asking me about fighters and nutrition and weight and that. Sorry you had to hear that. But I got about like what, maybe like 5 to 7 more minutes left, and then I'm gonna get up off here because I gotta go get ready for the next day. Tomorrow's a long day. He said, "Yo, that one got me cracked." Yeah, I was on one that day. Yeah, last month when all that Gerard NS Lima stuff came out, I was beside myself. I didn't care. I made my point so clear. I don't got to repeat myself about Bruce Lima. I'm not talking about that fight until like fight week, and even then, I still don't want to talk about it. The top fight I want to see in boxing: Crawford versus Lima. I mentioned that fight in one of my Crawford videos from today. Yo, Terence Crawford should literally like after if Terence wants to be a troll, he should fight Usima Lima in a farewell fight in Omaha and retire. That would be the most hilarious way to go out. Relax, folks. It's things we don't know, and BT is our insider here, so we got to ask. Yeah, ask away. Whatever I can divulge, I will. There's certain things I can't just come out and say because I never know who's watching, and I don't know how it can be used against me. But yeah, as far as like nutrition, yeah, fighters. I've seen fighters take fiber pills so they can shit out more, or in this case, for our nutritionist puts certain foods that have fiber in them so that things happen. And I'll leave it at that. Corey says someone asking BT to face a constipation. Yeah, I'm custom. Yo, I'm gonna have to start charging y'all money for this, man. True school consultations. Yo, that would be hilarious. Yo, Terence Crawford. I'm gonna make. You know what? I might make a video about it. I'm gonna do a video. Terence Crawford versus Usman Lima, the only fight that matters. I'm gonna title the video that Terence Crawford versus Usman Lima, the only fight that matters. And I'm gonna drop it during Draw Ennis fight week. Do you have Brian Numbers Jr. stopping Devin Haney? Yes, 7 rounds or less. Yes, true school consultations. Joking aside, you can do some stretching and eat vegetables. We're doing that already. If Crawford fights Lima, I might fuck around and go watch that in person. Yo, if Crawford fights Lima, I'm gonna act like it's the greatest fight ever, and I'm gonna make Lima seem like a killer, like all the Boots fans are doing. I'm gonna do the same shit all the Boots Philly fanboys are doing. I need that video, BT. Yeah, someone Pedro. I don't know if you got me on. I don't know if you got me on Instagram or Twitter. But like if you have me on Instagram or Twitter, like tweet me or message me so I don't forget. I'll do that video. Cause with camp going on and other videos I got going on, sometimes I forget these video ideas. So sometimes I need people to remind me. But that would be a scene. I want to see Bud in person and take pictures. I saw Terence Crawford fight 2 times. I covered his fight against Hank Lundy and I covered his fight against Madrimov. Are you ever going to go live for 24 hours like I Show Speed? I dare rule it out, but I would never. I would have to be doing something like I have to be out and about. So like maybe in Japan, maybe we could do 24 hours in Japan once, and it might be a one time thing because man, two 5 hours is a long time. I can't imagine 24. But if I do, it would be like when I go to Japan or something like that. I was gonna go to his gym before the fight got announced when I was driving through Omaha. Yeah, I never been to Nebraska. I'd love to go. Do you think Ortiz versus Boots actually happens next year, or Boots fights for the WBA first? I think Boots is definitely fighting for that WBA first. If of course he can win the rivalry between Angola and Osaka. Of course, yes, he has to do that. You didn't mention sports tissue massage. Does that help or hurt? It depends. I don't think it's good for fighters to get massages because from what I've learned and what I've seen, it can actually work against the fighter. But you definitely, if you do get a massage, you always want to get it on your off day. You don't want to get a massage like on a day you're sparring or something like that. Yeah, my bad, guys. I got a phone call. You're right. We cannot look past Lima. Philly got to settle the rivalry with Angola. They do. They do. Angola ain't playing. We all know Angola is a hotbed for boxing, and that's why Boots went and looked for the smoke. Why fight Bakram? Why fight, Virgil Ortiz? All those fights are gay. We want to see him fight someone from Angola. So that's what we're getting. And the Philly fans are responding in droves. Tickets are selling fast. Watching boxing speaking is getting me to work out with jump ropes. I think I can do the boxer step now. I jump rope today for like 10 minutes. I did my little 10-minute jump rope warm up. Then I shadow box for like 15 minutes, and then I did like today. Today I think I did like 6 or 7 rounds on the heavy bag. That was my workout. So yeah, jump roping is fun. But guys, look, on that note, I think I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm tired. I'll give you 2 hours, 15 minutes, and I have to get ready for the next day. So listen, tomorrow we will come back tomorrow, and tomorrow's live will be barring anything massively crazy happening in the boxing news. Tomorrow's live will be the aftermath of Inoue merger Akhmadaliev. So make sure you guys tune in tomorrow. Will be for that one. Y'all can ask me all the Inoue questions you want tomorrow. I will gladly answer them. But until then, keep supporting True School Sports. Every day my dream of hitting 100,000 subscribers is getting close. We're getting closer and closer to that plaque by the days. Keep supporting guys, and rock with me, and I appreciate all the support I've gotten this year and throughout all the years. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.